I just remember calling my family and telling them they need to come down as soon as possible because I wasn't sure how much longer I had left. Hi guys, my name is Petal. I'm clearly in a new location. I'm currently away at a conference, but I really wanted to just get on here and just kind of talk a little bit more about my story because I started off my channel talking about my story and I did a little middle of my story sometime last year, but I finished cancer treatment on December 31st, 2024. So I thought it was only right that I kind of do a follow-up and kind of get into what happened during my treatment. But before we get into the story, just to introduce myself, my name is Petal Palmer, and on this channel I post anything medical, mysteries, and crime. If that is something that sounds interesting to you, please consider subscribing if you end up liking this video. All right, let's get into my story. But before we get into this case, I'd like to get into the sponsor of today's video, Raycon. In the city, it is always loud outside, and sometimes you just need to be in your zone and cancel out all the noise around you. That's where the Everyday Earbuds by Raycon come into play. With active noise isolating features, the Everyday Earbuds are able to drown out the loudest of sounds. These are really helpful for me whenever I'm traveling. I'm able to just pop up my laptop, get some videos edited, take a break, and listen to some music and do whatever else. The battery life is amazing. It lasts 32 hours, and just 10 minutes of charging yields 90 minutes of battery. One of my favorite things is their variety of colors. I, of course, picked the color lavender and the ocean case because summer is coming and I'm definitely going to be in that water. Plus, if you're not liking Raycons, they offer a 30-day happiness guarantee return policy, no questions asked. Finally made it. Currently at a very important conference, but I want to show you guys a closer look of the Raycons. Father's Day is coming up, so these could be the perfect gift to get for your father or to get for any dad out there. If you'd like to try a pair for yourself, you can go to buyraycon.com/petalpalmer to get 15% off the best-selling everyday earbuds. Brought to you by Raycon. Thank you, Raycon, for sponsoring this video. Now let's get into this case. If you're wondering where I'm at right now, by the way, I'm currently at a conference, the Black Student Athlete Summit. I'm a fellow. I've been doing a fellowship for the past year there, and we are having the summit, so I've just been away working. So if you're wondering the new setup, I am in a hotel right now. In the bathroom, actually. It makes a good filming spot. A lot of you may know that I was diagnosed with cancer in August 2022, and I started off my channel just talking about being a cancer patient. And while that was a time I was extremely sick when I was diagnosed, a major time I was very sick was actually last year, February 2024. So in January of 2024, I started my final senior semester at my college, WVU, West Virginia University. I was doing exercise physiology on the pre-med track to apply to med school. And part of my major, exercise physiology, is to do an internship where you're working in a different location. They place us in different locations. You can essentially apply or pick which one you want to do, and then you, for the most part, will get into the one that you want to do. So the internship that I was doing was one called Community Exercise is Medicine. So what that essentially entailed was me working with different clients who had various diseases such as Parkinson's disease or osteoporosis, just all sorts of things, arthritis. A lot of our population were elderly people, so we were just kind of focusing and tailoring our exercise programs and our educational programs towards them. Now, sometime in January of 2024, just around the end, beginning of February, I was having very bad GI issues. So I was just very nauseous. I was having a hard time eating anything. I would eat like something so small for dinner and I was like, I can't eat anymore because I was just feeling so sick. Nausea is a side effect of chemo. I was doing chemotherapy. So like, it's not a shocker if I'm nauseous. Like sometimes you just get really nauseous and I was getting nauseous. So I'm like, oh, that sucks. I hope it passes so I can eat. It didn't pass. It continued for like weeks and weeks. And I went to my team, my care team, and I was just telling, I always tell them how I'm feeling. I literally say every little thing that happens. Like it could be something so minor, like, I felt this little ache in this one little spot. Anytime I feel something, I tell them. So I, of course, was telling them that I was nauseous as always. And it's always the same thing. You're always nauseous. So it's never like something serious. It wasn't like a different kind of nausea. Like it was just nausea. But then it continued for weeks and weeks, and I was doing maintenance chemotherapy. So maintenance chemotherapy is essentially a less intense dose of chemo. I was doing very intense chemo when I was initially diagnosed. That whole fall of 2022, I was going in on the chemo. Like they were doing a lot. Like they were giving me a lot of it. Maintenance chemotherapy, it's nothing like that. But I was very nauseous. And one day it went from nausea to being diarrhea. So I, of course, told my care team. They had me do a stool sample. Sorry, somebody just got in the shower. So let me get closer to the mic so you guys can hear me. The stool sample came back. Lo and behold, I had E. coli in my gut. Not good. Obviously, that's what's causing the diarrhea. To treat the E. coli in my gut, my oncologist prescribed me with a antibiotic called azithromycin. That azithromycin was going to be given on a 3-day course, 1 pill a day for 3 days, and that was it. So I take the azithromycin the first day. This was on Friday, February 16th when I took my first pill. It makes me feel so ill. I didn't feel good at all. I was feeling just kind of like, it's really hard to explain because sometimes it's kind of just like a sick, but weak, but just dizzy. I felt very weird after taking it, but I'm like, it's an antibiotic. It must be just really fighting whatever's going on in there to get rid of it. So I was like, you know what? It's a strong antibiotic. It's a 3-day course, 1 pill a day. Like if it's only 3 that's going to be doing the job, that each pill must have some power in it. So that's what I was thinking. The second day comes and I take it again and I just felt really, really bad, just tired, just so unwell. I was not feeling good at all that day. And the first day that I did take it, I did have internship. So I went to my internship and I did get it done and I was feeling fine enough to show up to the internship, but obviously I wasn't feeling well. But it's kind of just like when you're doing chemotherapy, you're never really feeling well. You're just feeling not worse. And I did just fine. I came home and I just laid down because I was feeling sick. So the next day I take my azithromycin for the second day and it made me feel so bad. Just kind of like how I felt the first day. I felt ill, but I just felt worse. The first thing I always do usually when I wake up, for the most part, is pull my blinds apart. I like the sun to just come in and it to be bright in my room. I didn't pull the blinds apart. I got up, was gonna walk to the bathroom to go brush my teeth, and I literally was in the bathroom over the sink brushing my teeth, but I'm not like just brushing my teeth and standing up. I was like bending down over the sink and brushing my teeth, struggling slowly. And I was like, these antibiotics, like so strong, like let me go lay down and not do anything for the day. Let me just take it easy. So I laid down on the couch and I was just going to stay there until I got better. And, my roommates were there like, hey, do you want to go to the hospital? And I'm like, oh, it's just the medication's really strong. Like maybe I just need to lay here and see how I feel later on in the day. I was supposed to meet up with one of my teammates that day to go to coffee and go plant shopping because I love plants. But I texted her that morning. I'm like, hey girl, I'm so sorry. Like I'm just not feeling good. I don't think I can make it. Maybe we can go like next week. Like I'm not feeling good right now. And she's like, oh, that's okay. And I hate canceling plans, but like I was feeling sick. I just stayed on the couch the whole entire day, didn't feel any better. If anything, I kept getting worse. But what really got me concerned was that later in the day, after a few hours had passed, all of a sudden, my face and my head were tingling. I was feeling tingling. And I was like, and I looked it up. I was like, is tingling a side effect of azithromycin? And it was like, yeah, tingling is a side effect. And I was like, okay, like, it's weird. I just thought that was so weird. I've never had that happen before when taking antibiotics. And I was just like, this is strange. And I was feeling worse. I wasn't really eating that day. My roommate and my friend, she made me like smoothies and just whatever I could because I couldn't even get up to make something because I wasn't feeling good. So they're like, oh, do you want anything to eat? Like, and they know like when I'm sick, my smoothie is a go-to. So I was like, yeah, okay, I can have a smoothie. And, I drank the smoothie, or at least tried to. I guess when you're sick, you must just have like an inspiration to do something random. Because I just started dress shopping on Windsor. This is not sponsored by Windsor. But I just started dress shopping on Windsor in their clearance section, and I bought me like 10 dresses on clearance. You know, you never know when you're going to need a dress for a special occasion. Might as well just buy them all in bulk on sale. And I ended up using one of them as my grad dress. So there's that. But it got to a point that day where I was like, I'm not feeling well. This now warrants a call to the hospital. I'm somebody who's very in tune with my body, which is why I can see how I'm feeling. And if I am feeling bad, I can be like, oh, let me just see how it's going to feel. And once it passes a certain level, that's when I'm like, girl, you need to call a doctor, call someone, just make sure you're okay. Cancer center was closed because it was a Saturday. Oh, let me clarify. I took the first pill on the Friday, and then the cancer center was closed on the Saturday, but I was feeling sick on the Saturday. So I wasn't able to call the cancer center. So what I instead did was call the area in the hospital where I stay whenever I'm admitted. So when I first was admitted, I was admitted into this section, and whenever I would be admitted later on throughout treatment, they'd also usually just place me in that section. I guess that's where the oncology patients go. It's the bone marrow unit, so it makes sense because usually when you have leukemia, you get a bone marrow transplant, and leukemia is a bone marrow issue. So yeah. So I called the bone marrow unit and I was like, hey, this is Petal. I'm a patient in the cancer center. I usually stay here whenever I'm admitted. I'm not feeling good. Is there a way I can talk to a doctor? And they said, yeah, we're going to put a doctor on and you can speak to them. So then I ended up getting in contact with the doctor who was there. I'd never met this doctor, but he was just, talking to me, and he was essentially just explaining, obviously the cancer center is closed, but I would love for you to come in to the cancer center to see my own oncologist on Monday, since my oncologist wouldn't be in until Monday. And pretty much all that goes on the weekends at the cancer center is just infusions or whatever you need. If you have treatment that you need to do on that day, that's what it is. But it's not like everyone's there. It's just a small amount of staff are there, and it's usually just nurses for the most part. So I just explained all my symptoms to him. I was like, I'm feeling tingling, I'm feeling weak, I have this happening. I'm pretty sure I might have had a really bad headache. I just was not feeling good. And I said, and I have one more. I told him I'm taking the azithromycin. I told him I had one more pill that I had to take. And he just said, you know what? Hold off on taking that last pill. Don't take that last pill until you see your doctor on the Monday. I said, okay, that's good. Thankfully, because I did not want to take another pill. So I was like, okay, that's great. I'm not taking it. We hang up and just end the call there. And he's obviously if anything more happens, come in to the hospital. You'll just monitor how you're feeling, make sure you're all good. So I was like, okay, I'm going to do that. And then Monday, I'm going to go to the cancer center. So the rest of the day went by. I was feeling absolutely sick. My friend made me some pasta. I couldn't even eat it for dinner. I think I was sporadically sleeping throughout the day because I was just on the couch the whole day, a little bit in the evening. And then I tried going to sleep at night on the couch, and I just was not feeling good. And I said, you know what? I need to eat dinner. I don't want to waste my dinner. So I got the pasta out because I think we put it away because I couldn't eat it. And I actually microwaved it. I ate it at 2 a.m. in the morning, 3 a.m. And I actually brushed my teeth, got my nighttime routine, and I actually went to bed in my own bed. I woke up, and the way I felt was not a feeling that is a good one. I'll just say that. I felt really sick. I felt worse than the day before, almost, just not well. I had a bad headache. I was feeling weak. I was not well. So I got out of bed and I struggled to get myself to the sink at the bathroom, but I somehow got there, barely brushed my teeth. I was holding the toothbrush very weak, just trying my best to brush my teeth. And I somehow got it done. I exited the bathroom. So it's my room, the bathroom's diagonal, a little bit down the hall, and then there's the living room. I walk out the hall to get to the living room. And as I'm walking and got to the living room, I start to stumble, dizzy. I was very dizzy. I've never had that happen before where I was dizzy to the point where I actually stumble, and I stumbled all the way and threw myself onto the couch because that's how bad, I was just really dizzy, and I stumbled, and I made sure, I stumbled forward so I'd fall into the couch, and I fell into the couch, and I was just laying there, and I said, okay, yep, hospital, we're going, I'm done. My roommate They had Sunday long run because, my roommates, by the way, context, we were all on the same team together, West Virginia University, track and cross country. Obviously, I wasn't running, but they were still running last year. I was just laying there, and then one of my roommates, the first one, because I have two roommates, the first one came out and she was like, oh, like how you feeling? And I'm like, oh, I'm not well. And she was like, do you want like a smoothie? And I'm like, yeah, sure. And she's making me this smoothie. And then I'm like, you know what? I think I need to go. I said, I think I need to go to the hospital. And she's like, yep. Okay, we're going to go. Let's go. I was really sick. So everything was moving fast. I think she was like, okay, let me finish your smoothie. My other roommate came out and I was like, oh my gosh, like, you good? And I'm like, not really. They took me to the hospital. We lived really close to the hospital, by the way. It's like, I would walk to the cancer center. Let's just say that. I would walk to get to the cancer center. I was like 5 minutes walk away. So it was like a short drive, but still, like, I couldn't walk there to a hospital that day because I was just too sick. We were going to go to the ER. Usually I'm a very independent person. So even if I am like kind of just not feeling well, like let's say I hurt my ankle, for example, I'm still going to like get down the stairs however I need to get down the stairs. I'm just going to adjust how I walk so I can get down the stairs by myself. In this moment, I was feeling so sick. As soon as we were trying to walk, I just like rested my head on my roommate, and like looking back at it, I was sick. That was not good. So we walked down the stairs and then we head in the car and we drive to the hospital. We get to the hospital and I was trying to check in, but I was having this really bad headache and just breathing was off, and I was just trying, just giving them my name, giving them this, giving them that. And then they got me into a room, and my two roommates, they had Sunday long run, as I was saying, and it was maybe 9. I think Sunday long run starts at like 9:30. Let's say it was 9:15 when all this was happening. So I was like, you guys, like, I don't want to hold back your long run. Like, if you like have to go, because I was at the hospital by that point, but I think one of them was like, they'll go because I think they might have had to drive some other people to long run. And then the other one was like, I'll stay for a bit while we call one of the coaches to come. So they texted one of the coaches, and one of the coaches was going to come and stay with me at the hospital for a bit. I just remember me being on the hospital bed in the emergency room, and my heart was racing a mile a minute. It was going so fast. I obviously wasn't really thinking much about my heart rate, like beating fast. I was more so thinking, I was just feeling bad. But my friend who was there with me later on told me, she was like Petal, like, I actually was very concerned. She didn't tell me at the time, but she told me later on how at that time when she was looking at the heart rate monitor, I think she said it was getting up to like 120 to like 150 while I was laying down. And she said that actually scared, like she was like very worried, because your heart rate should not be 120, 150 when laying down. It should be less than 100. Like, I'm pretty sure my resting heart rate laying down is usually under 60, like laying down 60, under 60. So for it to be from under 60 to well over 120 up to 150-ish, something's wrong. Finally, the coach came and my roommates left to run. I had the nastiest headache. My head was hurting so bad, and they were giving me medications to try treating it, and it's just, nothing was going down. Head was just hurting. They decided to take blood work, obviously, to make sure everything was all good. They took blood work, they took some cultures, and they also gave me some IV fluid so I can, get some hydration. And my coach who was there, she was like, oh, like, do you want anything to eat? I was like pretty fine, like talking. Like, I was talking to her, cracking jokes, the usual. It's just I wasn't feeling good. I was like, I could do like a bagel with cream cheese. And she was like, okay, I can get you a bagel and cream cheese. So I wanted it from Tim Hortons, and she was going to go get it from Tim Hortons, which was close by. And she came back with the bagel and cream cheese. I remember specifically saying Tim Hortons because Tim Hortons usually puts the cream cheese on the bagel. And I didn't want to have to put cream cheese on the bagel. Like, how like sometimes you can get it in a separate package and you can put it on. I never brought it up, but somehow we ended up getting to the conversation about packaged stuff because I I think I might have been trying to cut the bagel with my knife because I didn't want to eat a full bagel because it was going to make me feel sick because I was still feeling like nausea. Just like, oh, if I knew, I would have just, not gotten the cream cheese on the side. And I was like, whatever, it's fine. Like, we'll manage. I remember taking one bite out of the bagel and I couldn't really eat it anymore. But then all of a sudden, literally minutes, not even, it was very quickly, I just started feeling like shakes. Like I was like shaking, like shaking really bad, as if I was cold. And I'm like, what's going on? Like I'm like just shaking crazy. The doctor came in, might have been nurses came in, and I forgot exactly what they said, but they gave me like some medications. I'm pretty sure they might have given me like Benadryl or something because I fell asleep. And then when I woke up, I wasn't shaking anymore. But the shakes were very strong. But then when I woke up, the doctor came in the room and he pretty much just like explained to me like what was happening was that like something's happening in my body, like some kind of infection. And he was saying that that was causing me to shake, like my body trying to like just fight or something, like, having a hard time, or that's what his explanation kind of was. And I was like, oh, okay, it's weird, sucks. But whatever, it stopped, so it was fine. I was still in the ER for hours at that point, and I still had a horrible headache. But they ended up coming to me and they told me that my lab work came back for my blood result. And they were like, yeah, your like white blood cells are so low, like low, extremely low. Very, very low, too low. So they said with this and like with me like being unwell, they're going to admit me into the hospital because like I need to be admitted into the hospital. Wheeled me over to my, my good old reliable bone marrow unit. So I was admitted into the hospital on Sunday, February 18th, 2024. And that night, honestly, was just trying to make me feel not bad or as worse. So just kind of getting rid of the headache however we can with medications and just starting me on antibiotics. I'm pretty sure they started me that night. I honestly want to say it was that very night. If it wasn't that night, it was the next day. But I'm pretty sure that very night I was admitted into the hospital, into the bone marrow unit. I start noticing that there's like this red area on my calf. And I noticed that it did hurt a little bit. Not terrible, but a little bit. I have had cellulitis in my calf before. For some reason, every cross-country season for like 2 years straight, I got like cellulitis in my calf and it would go away. Like, so I had it for a total of 2-3 times possibly. And the 2 times I took antibiotic pills for it. The 3rd time I was like, I don't really want to take antibiotics. Can I just do like a antibiotic cream? And they're like, yeah, it went away. So I was like, oh, great. I'm getting my annual cellulitis in my calf, literally always in my calf. So that's what I genuinely thought it was. The next day comes, it's still red, it's still hurting. I'm like, that's what happens. Like, that's not a shocker. Like, what? It doesn't go away just in one day. But then it was getting worse and worse and worse. Eventually, when the week came, I ended up meeting the doctor. He was a fellow who was working in the unit at the time. Absolutely amazing. Like, I wish I could see him again. One of the best doctors I've ever encountered. He just made staying there just chef's kiss, just amazing. He was just so sweet, so understanding, so helpful. And he was actually the doctor who I was on the phone with who was saying, okay, don't take the pill. Wait till you see your doctor on Monday. He was actually the doctor. I ended up meeting him. He was the doctor who was in that unit while I was staying. So that doctor, I'll just say Dr. Y. Dr. Y, he made sure to draw a circle onto the spot that was red to just make sure, it doesn't get any bigger. But here's the thing. There wasn't just one spot anymore. There was actually 2. I mean, there was always 2, but the one that I noticed first was the calf. There was actually one on my calf, and then there was one on my thigh, the back of my thigh. So they drew circles on it and they put the date on it so they knew when they drew it. And the thing about the red spot, especially on my calf, is that it wasn't just the red spot that was on the calf. It was like a red spot and there was like a little kind of not red piece kind of like in the middle of it. So it was very weird. I've never had the cellulitis look like that, but it did. It didn't get any better. And it was getting more painful. Like, it was getting past the point of cellulitis painful. It was just like really painful. And I was like, maybe it's because I'm very immunocompromised and I'm very sick right now. Maybe it's just as worse and it's going to take longer to heal. And very soon after being admitted in, they actually wanted to do a biopsy of the area to just make sure everything was all good. Now, before doing the biopsy, they did cultures, obviously, the first day. And the cultures did come back within those next few days. And what they found through the cultures was that my blood, I had an infection from Pseudomonas. So I had Pseudomonas. Specifically, I had Pseudomonas aeruginosa. So that is a blood infection, and treatment for that entails antibiotics. So they put me on antibiotics to treat that. And then they did the biopsy on my calf. And after the results came back from that, they found out that I had an infection, a skin infection called ecthyma gangrenosum. So I had the E. coli in my gut, I had the Pseudomonas aeruginosa, and then I had the ecthyma gangrenosum on my skin. And what my doctor was explaining to me, he said how the reason the ecthyma gangrenosum came is because with something like Pseudomonas in your blood, they can like break the barrier of your blood and like go affect your other areas, so then affect my skin. So they somehow found a home in my calf and just decided to congregate in my calf and also congregate in my thigh. The thing about ecthyma gangrenosum though, it's quite the infection, because it's not just a skin infection that just makes your skin red and goes away. It's actually a skin infection that causes wounds to open up on your skin. So after like a few days went by, my skin started to open and open and open, because that's what the infection was doing to my skin. And my skin literally opened up into 2 wounds. And the thing is, I did a biopsy on my calf. So the calf area was just huge because of the fact that it was cut to get the biopsy. So it was cut, and then the infection was opening, like the wound was opening around where they did the biopsy. So if you saw the pictures, it would be like a dot, and then it would be opening up around it, and they turned into gigantic wounds that were big enough where if you couldn't just treat it like a cut, it was a real wound that you actually had to do wound care for. Notes from editing, both spots were not only red, but they were also getting quite hardened. And just before they opened up, the skin was getting like very shriveled. So it was like very hard, very tender, red, and then getting shriveled. But before it started getting shriveled, the redness kind of went away. So it just was changing up a little bit. And with the ecthyma gangrenosum is that it is so painful. The pain wasn't just concentrated to that area, kind of like how it would be whenever I would have like the cellulitis infection. The pain would radiate through my entire leg to the point I couldn't walk. Cellulitis, I was able to walk. I was not able to walk with this at all. I would try to walk and I could barely do it. And I just stayed in bed. I've never had to literally stay in bed for so long. Before that even occurred, I remember I called my family and I told them, if there's any time you guys come down, it should be right now, because I don't know how much longer I have. Like, I don't know if I'm gonna make it. And essentially, just with the ecthyma gangrenosum, it kept me bedridden pretty much throughout the entirety of the hospital stay. I couldn't walk. I couldn't stand on my own. I wasn't able to shower on my own. I had to sit down to shower. And even doing that was extremely painful because I still was just fighting off all the infections. So my heart would be beating so fast. I'd feel really tired. The headache took a few days before it actually went away. Also, another thing that I was dealing with was that my nails were very brittle. They would break and they would not heal. Not just this, but I had braces at the time, and the braces would cut the inside of my cheeks, and those would also not heal at all. And I think that just had to do with the fact that I had such low white blood cells, and they were trying so hard to fight off all the other infections that nothing else was healing. So I was just getting broken nails and cut cheeks, and it just hurt so bad. It hurt to eat, it hurt to do all those things. And I was also very nauseous in general still. So I was barely surviving, just trying to drink smoothies as much as I could, but not really able to eat much food. My family ended up coming down. And whilst this is all happening, one day I was just chilling in my bed, and I'm starting to notice that I'm having a hard time breathing. I wasn't able to fully get the air in and get the air out. So I told this to the doctor, Dr. Y. I'm like, I can't really breathe that well. Like, what's happening? They said, you know what? We're going to do a bronchoscopy. And a bronchoscopy, I have never had that done before. And I don't really want to do one again, because it essentially entails them putting a tube down your mouth through your trachea and right into your lungs with a camera, putting water in your lungs, and then like coming back out. I actually almost forgot to mention, but a few days into being in the hospital, they actually performed a bone marrow biopsy on me to test for cancer, because, you know, they were concerned with possible, you know, cancer coming back. So they just had to make sure I'm sick from something else, like infections, versus me being sick from cancer. So I had to do that. And I was like so out of it from doing it, because they kind of give you some stuff to just like put you, you know, a little sleepy. And my sister filmed a video of me from when I woke up after it. And I'm happy she did, because it's just, looking back at it, I'm like, that is just so crazy, because I remember what I was asking her. So the bone marrow biopsy was done on February 26, 2024. And then the bronchoscopy was done on February 28th, 2024. So 2 days later, the results came back, and turns out I had pneumonia. So I had pneumocystis pneumonia, PCP. That's a type of pneumonia. That was why I couldn't breathe properly. So I had pneumonia in my lungs, Ecthyma granulosum on the skin, Pseudomonas in the blood, E. coli in the gut. That's why I was feeling the way I was feeling, because my body was fighting all of that at the same time. And to just work on the pneumonia, Dr. Y, he gave me like this like breathing thing where you breathe and like you have to try to get it to get to a certain level, so it shows that you've like are breathing stronger and whatever. And he was so sweet, because usually doctors just round in the morning and they don't really come back unless they have to. But Dr. Y was like, okay, so this is your assignment. You're going to practice this, and I'm going to be coming back in the afternoon, and I better see that it's much higher. And I'm like, I got you, Dr. Y. I got you. And he actually did come back. And that's why he was just one of the sweetest doctors. Like, he actually did come back, and he had a busy day because he was a fellow. So he had like exams like coming up and stuff. But that's my guy, Dr. Y. Dr. Y, if you watch my videos, I know you know who you are. Please, you're a real one. The legs got worse. The wounds were doing bad. The whole calf wound was a whole issue in itself, because I had a bandage on it for days. And then when they took it off, it was extremely painful and just nasty. I didn't realize that fluid comes out of wounds. So the fluid was fluiding. It was coming out. And they ended up getting me a walker to use, because I couldn't move around. Even to the bathroom, it was a pain fest to move. To just get up was pain in my leg. So I had to have a walker, even if I had to go to the bathroom. And I had to actually call a nurse to come in every time I wanted to get up, which was very rare. I barely wanted to get up. I did not want to get up at all. But then just to add on top of that, I didn't only have 2 wounds. I actually had 3 wounds. The third one, though, was not caused by ecthyma granulosum, because what had happened was, this had happened even before I got admitted into the hospital. I actually had a pressure wound, it might be TMI, but I don't care, on the inside of my buttock, my right buttock specifically. So pressure wound on the inside of my right buttock, ecthyma granulosum wounds on my left leg. And it wasn't just any pressure wound, it was actually a stage 3 pressure wound. Pressure wound or pressure ulcer, used interchangeably. Yeah, so I had a pressure ulcer, stage 3 pressure ulcer. How it came about, I don't know, but all I know is that symptoms for the pressure ulcers started before I was even admitted into the hospital. And I actually did get it checked out, And when I got it checked out the first time, essentially what our consensus was, like me and the care team's consensus was, is that because I had the diarrhea before I was admitted into the hospital, just since diarrhea is so strong and the skin is sensitive, it just probably irritated the skin. And like, obviously every time you use the toilet, and then if you like wipe with like a tissue paper, that also is irritating the skin. So it's kind of just like you're probably just irritating your skin kind of thing. Use like, I think maybe Vaseline they were suggesting. It was like a head nurse like who was saying, you can use Vaseline, do. So in my head, the whole time while I was dealing with all this sickness, E. coli and everything, I almost forgot about that because it was so like minuscule compared to everything else. Also, at the time, it didn't start as a stage 3 pressure ulcer. And at the time, at first, when I got it checked out, it never got actually looked at. It was more that I described what was happening and then they gave me the recommendations. But I guess nobody really thought that I was developing a pressure ulcer at all, especially as it would be quite random for me to develop it, considering I'm not really putting pressure on that spot a lot, or just I'm very active. So yeah, I guess nobody would have thought, oh yeah, it's a pressure ulcer that's, getting worse, but it did get worse somehow into a stage 3. So yeah, I remember it was my mom who actually noticed it because it was so difficult for me to actually go to the bathroom, like walk, even though it was still just in my room. They actually put out like not a makeshift toilet, but like, in hospitals, you have like kind of just like toilets where you can like, you can move it, like a portable toilet. You can close it. Like it's shaped like a toilet. It's just, it's not in the bathroom or connected to anything. So I had one of those, and I remember I was using it, and then I got up and I think I was just trying to, get my clothes back together. But like while I was pulling my clothes back together, my mom like briefly saw kind of just my buttocks area and was like, Petal, hey, like there's like a cut there, like what happened? I'm like, oh my gosh, no, it's nothing. It's just the skin is irritated. She told a nurse. I was like just thinking of what I was told before. I obviously can't see how it looked. They actually checked it out, and I saw a picture of it. Not good. I just didn't even know that it was like that. So they ended up having to do, test and measure, whatever, had wound specialists check it out and diagnose me with a stage 3 pressure ulcer. There's 4 stages to getting a pressure wound. So stage 3 injuries extend through the skin into deeper tissue and fat, but do not reach muscle, tendon, or bone. And then stage 4 is when the injuries extend to the bone. So it was quite deep in there. So not only were we treating the left calf and left hamstring, thigh area, we're also treating the inside of the right buttock. Wound care was kind of a mess for it, especially because of the spot it was in. It was in a very weird spot. So it was really hard to get bandages and everything. Like, it was a mess. I was sick. So just imagine me, somebody who's very independent, very active, can't move, dependent on people to make sure you don't fall, can barely walk from one place to another, can't really use the bathroom on her own. Just that was me, and feeling extremely sick and in pain. And I remember they had a heart rate monitor on me, and whenever I would say, no, I really want to try going for a walk, and they would come on a walk with me, my heart rate would go up so high that one time on my walk, and I would have a company, like my family would accompany, and like a nurse would accompany me on the walks. One time a nurse like ran up to where I was and was like, Petal, like, are you okay? Like, what's going on? And I was like, oh, I'm just walking. My heart rate was so high that it was just boom, 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 like just walking. And I remember one time in particular, one of the nurses was like, like, Petal, like, if you're not feeling good, like, just don't like try to overdo it. Like, don't try to do, something you can't handle. And I was like, no, I won't. And then I remember I was walking and she was asking, like, do you feel bad? Do you feel okay? And I'm like, no, yeah, I feel fine. I did not really feel okay. I felt okay enough where I knew my body and I knew I was fine, but it was like I was getting hot. I was sweating, barely walking just a few meters hot and sweating. So yeah, that's what my body was essentially going through. And they had me on antibiotics. I stayed in the hospital for 3 weeks. 3 weeks in the hospital doing antibiotics. And I was mentally not well in that hospital. They had me on like this like bed, like some sort of like set pressure bed because of the pressure wound. So it was always loud in my room. Like you always heard like the air going in, and that was just so like, I just wanted just quiet, always loud. And I was fevering every single day. Fevering, like I was always fevering. And I had this one nurse, I really liked her. She would be like, girl, what's going on today? Like, what's happening? She's like, why are you fevering again? And I'm like, I wish I could tell you. I wish I could. But yeah, we would always kind of just like joke around. But yeah, I was just fevering every night. And then I was feeling really cold at the same time. So essentially, my body just was not well for those 3 weeks at all. Pained, can't walk, hot. But then finally towards the end, I think the fever started getting a little bit better, less consistent. Because sometimes what would happen, I would get the fevers and then it would, like, the next test wouldn't be there, but then it would come back. And Dr. Y had to leave because he finished his exams and then he was gone. And I was like, oh. So a new doctor who I actually knew from before took over. And essentially she was like, yeah, after you're done the antibiotics, you can go home. I think they just really thought I was done with being in the hospital, which I was. And they knew that like if anything happened, I could come back. And they also knew like all it was really a matter of is me taking the medications and doing the wound care. Cause like I was stable at that point. So they're like, yeah, when you want to go home, you can. And I was like, okay, yeah, like we can discharge me. I still couldn't walk. I had to take a walker home with me, and I was placed on steroids. So I was on prednisone. I've done prednisone before. Gives me my nice little moon face, and I was gonna just take that for a few days while I healed. And I remember the transition home, that was probably one of the only times I got sent home from the hospital where I genuinely felt unready to get sent home from the hospital because I didn't really have the wound care down pat. Like for 2 days straight, I didn't really do proper wound care because like I didn't know what to do. But then they ended up setting me up with home care. So I had a nurse who was coming in every single day to help me with my wounds and help me make sure everything was all good. And then, as I kept getting better, it got down to every other day, then it got down to twice a week, and then once, and then, I ended up not needing the nurse once my wounds healed. But the healing process was a while. I was walking with a walker for maybe, I want to say, honestly, like a week. I actually stopped walking with a walker quick because I was like, I can try walking on my own. And it took a while of me limping walking before I could actually walk properly. And my left leg was so weak and thin by that point. It lost so much muscle. Like my right was obviously bigger because of how immobile my left leg was from being sick. But I ended up being able to get back into walking slowly but surely. Took like, let's say, I want to say 2 months before I was maybe able to like walk normally without feeling pain and like full, and also be able to fully extend my leg because I wasn't able to extend my leg for a while during that time. And as for the wounds took about, so it was around the end of February, the 3rd week of February when the wounds formed. They ended up closing up like all 3 of them by April. So like the end of April. So about 2 months of wound care diligently for them to clear up. And now I just have scars. But, the scars always remind me, you got through that, girl. You did. The wounds weren't painful on my legs, but the wound on my buttocks was extremely uncomfortable, horrible spot. And it was a pressure wound. So I think that's what made it actually hurt. And I actually was considering getting a skin graft if I could. Like I told my friend, I was like, I need a skin graft. I can't do wound care on this. It's so bad. Horrible spot, like it's impossible to live with. But she was like, Petal, like you can do it. And I did it. So, but yeah, the healing journey for that went pretty smooth. I ended up being able to do a TEDx talk, and it was funny because I had a nurse appointment that day, and I was hoping that because the nurses kind of come whenever they can. They'll call you before they come. But I was like, I have a TEDx talk. I hope she doesn't come when I do the TEDx talk. But she didn't. I'm not even sure she actually ended up coming that day because my mom came in and my sister. So I think my mom might have just helped me instead. Oh yeah, and that's my mom and sister came down during spring break to help me out because I got out around spring break. And then after that, that put me behind in school for a bit. But surprisingly, I ended up being able to do makeup modules for internship because they were giving me the option to finish internship in the summer. But I wanted to get a few different awards, and you couldn't get some unless you finish your courses. So I was determined. So I worked really, really hard to finish my internship, and I was able to do all the makeup modules and get all my hours for it. And I finished all of my courses. And I ended up ending the year with a 4.0 GPA from freshman year to senior year, 4.0 GPA through chemotherapy, through everything. And I don't give myself enough credit, but I am very proud of myself for that because I actually really worked hard to study and stay on top of things. And there were so many times where I said I was going to quit. The amount of times my friends have heard me say, I think I'm going to quit. I think I'm going to quit. I think I might quit. I think I might quit. And I didn't quit. And I'm happy for that because I actually was close. Almost as close. But yeah, got to do the TEDx talk. I ended up going to Jubilee that time afterwards. Got to do Jubilee and got to speak on a panel with some amazing people, cancer survivors and cancer patients. I graduated, obviously. And yeah, I continued my YouTube channel. I was so excited to post my first few videos when I came back. I was a little out of it when I was filming it, but didn't care. I really wanted to get videos out. But yeah, a lot went on during those times. My oncologist was stunned at just how sick I got, especially being in maintenance. I was very shocked, but I don't know. I feel like maybe it was accumulation of things. Maybe doing the internship was a little difficult on my body, working with others and doing exercise programming could have been a little bit hard, and then getting sick and then trying to finish and study. It could be a lot, but yeah, I don't know. I got through it. So yeah, that essentially was the time I thought I wasn't gonna make it, but I made it. So I hope you enjoyed the hotel story time. And as of December 31st, 2024, I took my last chemo dose and I'm officially done chemo. So it's amazing to be done chemotherapy and deal with other issues, because there are some other issues post-treatment that I am dealing with. But we crossed chemo off the list. I've been wanting to get that crossed off the list. Steroids crossed off the list. And yeah, we'll just keep it pushing. Spinal taps crossed off the list. I've been really excited to share videos. I've been really working on them and continue growing this channel. And I do think it's important that I just, share my story a little bit, because I share about all these stories, but this story that I'm saying about me, this is what makes me want to tell these stories. A lot of the cases that I cover, genuinely, I relate to it in some way. Something happens in the case where I'm like, oh my gosh, I remember when that happened to me, or oh, I hate when I had to take that medication and I keep seeing this, or oh, I remember when a doctor did this to me. So every time I'm sharing these stories, a lot of the time I am relating to it. Obviously it didn't happen to me, what happened to them, which is why I don't talk about my story in case videos. But it's this is why, the passion behind it is just, I don't know, it just stems from just me understanding it and me just wanting to just kind of see a difference and hope patients get a voice, because we can definitely, when we're not well, feel very voiceless. And I hope this channel just continues to do that. So, but yes, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you want more personal stuff from me, you can follow me on Instagram at Petal Palmer. And I have a lot of content lined up for Instagram that I do plan on creating, especially short form related to kind of medical-y topics, but just more in an artistic form. Because one thing about me, I'm interested in medicine and I'm also interested in the arts. So I feel like my Instagram is kind of just that intersection. So you can follow me at Petal Palmer on Instagram, and I'm very active on there, and I'm able to reply to more comments and reply to DMs on there. So yeah, but yeah, please let me know your thoughts on this video. What are your thoughts on this story? Anything that stood out to you? Anything you're like, oh my goodness? Anything you can relate to? Anything that's happened to you? Just please comment your thoughts below, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any other videos on medical cases, crime, and mysteries. Bye now.